What's going on, YouTube? My name is Icy, and today we're going to be talking about fantasy football players that I believe will immensely help your roster. These are players that I believe will outperform their ADP, or average draft position, and today we're going to discuss a large number of players. We're going to talk about all their downsides, hopefully make you consider the upsides as well. So as a general disclaimer, this is all opinion, and it should be treated as such, just so I don't have people rolling into my comment section in about 2 months down the road, telling me that I ruined their team and they didn't ruin their team. So if you don't agree with something here, I'm super open to talk about it. So leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you on it, because I love talking about that kind of stuff. So we're going to get right into it. The first pick we're going to talk about is, not him, is Josh Jacobs. I realize it's weird to have a sleeper in the first round, but the dude can totally go there. He had a couple small hiccups right here when he was sick around week 2 or 3 last year, but that's it. You know, the team looks pretty good. It's his sophomore season. The dude can have pop-off potential, so why not? I believe in him. I played him all year last year, and the dude was a beast. Number 2, another weird one people might not call sleeper, but DeAndre Hopkins. He's fallen down. He was going around 5th or 6th last year, and I believe this year he's projected to go around 12 to 18 or so. And so his last season ended up averaging 17.9. I mean, the dude plays all of his games, and I mean, Murray's second year, dude's sophomore season, he has something to prove. He's going to play like it. So, I mean, I like it. Kenyon Drake can stretch the floor. They can't, like, only cover D-Hop, so it's going to be a good offense. I'm all in on that. Next player we're talking about, Odell Beckham Jr. here. Obviously had his worst year last year. However, he was playing through a sports hernia. I've had 2 hernia surgeries this year, and let me tell you, that is terrible. It's his second year with Baker, so I assume they have at least some level of chemistry built up at this point. Noticing that his receptions and targets are relatively subpar compared to his other years, but, I mean, again, we're just trusting these guys, right? We're trusting that Baker can turn this stuff around and stop being terrible. However, OBJ, because of his last year, has less hype around him. So if you can snag him and he can do literally any of these other seasons worth of fantasy points, it's a steal and totally worth it. Next player we're going to talk about is David Johnson. Let's talk about David Johnson, because who doesn't want to anymore? He's a huge topic. He's a dude who was stuck in a trash system for a few years. Last year was just upsetting to watch, to be honest, around, yeah, you can see the time right here. But he was stuck in a trash system. 2016 David Johnson is obviously putting up phenomenal numbers, right? We all remember these seasons. Like 38 fantasy points. What did he average that season? 2016, 25.5. I mean, he's not going to go back to that. I don't think he'll ever return to 2016 DJ. However, I'm sure there'll be glimpses of it, which are going to have him putting down some pretty sweet performances. So I'm all in on that. And in a very similar vein, Todd Gurley has something to prove. The dude's on the Falcons. He signed a 1-year deal. If you think anything other than a 1-year deal is going to be like, they're going to run this dude into the ground. They're going to give him a minimum of 20 touches a game, and that's obviously a lot of this is providing he doesn't get hurt. However, he didn't look super hot last year. 14.6 points a game. That was playing under the whole pretense that he might get hurt as well, though. So, you know, I expect him to get run to the ground. I expect him to get a ton of touches, especially for where he's going in like the mid-third round. DK Metcalf. Last season was his rookie season. This is a dude who I think has pop-off potential for sure. He is on a crazy good offense. He has all the potential in their world. And a player we're going to talk about a little bit later, not necessarily for sleeper potential, but because we're going to talk about him, is Will Dissly. That man got hurt, and when he got hurt, the Seahawks used their tight end a lot less. So I think DK can take from these solid numbers he's putting up. I think he can continue to grow. I think on his second year on the great offense that he's going to put in the work, put in the numbers, have more chemistry, and look like a real beast. So this right here, I have Singletary stats up. However, first we're going to talk about Zach Moss, who's a player that does not have any NFL stats yet, obviously. He's a mature player that the Bills drafted in the 3rd round. Mature player with a great college showing. Coming out of Utah, he could overtake Singletary and become the Bills' go-to guy. Which is why, for that reason, we're also bringing up Singletary. The dude had to be written into our draft board last year, by the way, in like the 14th round or something. And at the time, the backfield was a mess. It's got, TJ Yeldon had Shady, so LaShawn McCoy still vulturing touches from new talent. And Singletary still managed to be a standout star. So depending on which one of these guys keeps the starter role solidified, they can totally be a steal. Depending if you're looking at Moss, depending if you're looking at Singletary, they both have all the potential in the world. There's a spider up there. Oh dear. All right. Fan favorite, Marquise Hollywood Brown. This dude is a runner. So he has Lamar Jackson on his team, who has obviously improved as a passer. Brown was supposedly also milking an injury from college, although who knows if that actually affected him. He also is a dude who will be running the field every single play. I don't think there's a single play in the Ravens playbook that doesn't have Hollywood Brown route look like that, straight up. So, he's a dude who will be better in standard than PPR because he'll catch bomb passes as opposed to volume passes, but that's not bad. That's very similar to a player like Tyreek Hill. And, the dude put on, I want to say 23 pounds of muscle it was in the offseason, so this guy's going to be a boss. He's going to be bullying people left and right and be faster than them. Another player, a fan favorite, Julian Edelman. So he's going to be a veteran on the team. This guy can lead this locker room, hopefully. Well, not that I like the Pats, but, he's going to be the bailout and relief option for when he's not the guy the play is designed for, because Cam is going to be probably not acclimated too well, honestly. He did finish top 5 in targets last year, which, for sure the Patriots will at least attempt to continue, right? It's an infrastructure thing just as much as it is a Tom Brady thing. So we'll see if that can continue. Kareem Hunt is going to be the next guy we talk about here. Now, I like this pick more in PPR than standard, and frankly, I don't believe this guy will have the role of starter this year. But for where you can grab the guy, he will put up a very consistent, 12 points for you. Look at this. 16, 17. He was on a ban, so that's why he's not there. I'm sure everyone watching this knows that, but very consistent, 12 points. And that's really all you can ask for. If we scroll down in the depth chart, I don't see Dontrell Hilliard or D'Ernest Johnson touching the ball once this entire year, barring injuries from Chubb or Hunt. So the next guy we're going to talk about is my boy, Blake Jarwin. Now, my dad's a Cowboys fan, so I naturally care to watch Cowboys games. I saw this guy play last year behind Witten, and I immediately thought of wanting him this year's fantasy draft. So this is like a year in the making, a whole year-long play. So I'm kind of salty that ESPN is talking about him now, but that's besides the point. I expect him to have numbers similar to Will Dissly's last year pre-injury. This guy is obviously a huge body who can assist Dallas with punching in some touchdowns. So as we're looking, obviously his numbers are honestly less than impressive. This is last year, though. Remember, he was behind Witten this entire year. If you compare him to Will Dissly, who's the player I'm saying I want to compare him to here, he had an unimpressive first week, but was a touchdown magnet. The dude is just a big body that's like a tertiary option for punching the ball in the end zone. And I believe that's the exact role that Blake Jarwin is going to be able to fly into and fill very well in Dallas. Dallas isn't going to have a small amount of options. You got... Look at this offense. There's nothing else you can really say there. So now I'm going to talk about some dudes that have pop-up potential that I would still be careful of. So these players, I don't even necessarily know if I want to say, hey, draft these guys as much as the other ones, because they're just players that need to be discussed as, I guess we'll call them boom or bust players. So first we're going to start with AJ Green. Everyone knows the name. We all know the name. We all know the guy. He's probably one of the biggest boom or bust players out there for this season. So I might personally stay away from him. However, I still feel the need to cover him because he could theoretically have a return to greatness, similar to what I'm expecting out of Gurley and David Johnson. If we look at his last season stats that he played, that is, 2018, he was doing very consistently well until this, what was it, turf toe or something? His first injury. Obviously the guy gets injured like twice a week nowadays, and there's even some stuff going on right now with hamstring. That's the new one today. Yeah, sure. So we're looking at hamstring injuries now. But I mean, he has put up like consistent numbers in the same ballpark for his entire career. People are high on Burrow, and if you want this player, it really depends on if you're high on Burrow, is my understanding. So he's one of my favorite players. I love the guy, but I don't think I want him personally in fantasy. If you do, good for you and good luck. Keenan Allen. This man is projected around pick like 50 or something. So, I mean, he's obviously falling low because of the QB situation over on the Chargers. If you don't know, Tyrod Taylor is looking like the starter with Justin Herbert behind him, who does seem to have promise, but, we can save that discussion for another time. His numbers last season were this high. He finishes with, 16.3 a game. Obviously, he has some pretty sweet booming games in there, where, the 43 is absurd, but we can't play for that every game. And obviously, this is kind of a strange outlier-ish middle section, where, I mean, maybe to be fair, his team's just running the ball more there because it's colder or winter or something, but I mean, this is with Phillip Rivers, who is frankly an average quarterback at best these days, that he put up these numbers, that is. And the fact that Phillip is kind of bolted to the ground in his playstyle complements Allen, which is why I'm worried about how Allen will do with Tyrod Taylor, who is most likely a QB who wants to scramble and roll out. So the bottom line is, Keenan Allen has some pretty big upside, but I also believe a substantial risk would be taken to pick him instead of other young receivers around his ADP, like, say, Terry McLaurin, for example. I believe Devontae Parker's falling around there, who I'm high on as well. And for the last part, I'm just going to talk about a couple rookies here. So, Jerry Jeudy. This is a guy who went to Bama. He is on Denver. And maybe I'm buying into the hype a little too much, but the general consensus is that Drew Lock is going to have a fantastic second year in the league, and that this combo is going to be scary. I think we can look at Courtland Sutton. I pulled up his stats just so we can talk about him in the Jerry Jeudy comparison, because he could have a very Sutton-esque rise, right? Because he's already gonna be starting. He's ahead of Deshaun Hamilton. And if we look at Sutton's 2018 numbers, they're not great, but they're something. And I mean, I think we can expect an even better first year out of Jeudy than we got out of Courtland Sutton. And the final player we're talking about is CeeDee Lamb, a rookie that is going to Dallas. So he played with quarterback Jalen Hurts in college. Obviously, a lot of QBs have this play style these days, but his play style is very similar to players like Dak, who he's now going to be on a team with. Dallas should be scary this year. Even if defenses can stop the run and contain Amari and Gallup, there are plenty of other options, like the two players we talked about now, Blake Jarwin and CeeDee Lamb. So for that reason, I think CeeDee and Jerry are going to be some valuable rookies for sure. And that'll about do it for our video on players in fantasy who will outperform their average draft position. Thank you so much for watching today. Consider dropping a sub or a comment if you'd like to see more content, or if you'd like to talk to me or disagree with picks, agree with picks, anything like that. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.